bold and honest plans. It's been called the blue ribbon, or the gold standard rather, by any of the energy policies that have been suggested by presidential candidates. This is a major issue that requires a hardship. A corporate carbon tax is not without a cost to it. I understand that. But the status quo of continuing borrowing $1 billion every day to buy foreign oil, continuing the risk to our country, I think is unacceptable. That's why I'm advocating it.
Senator Edwards, should there be a bottomless well of federal dollars for people who knowingly live in areas of this country that are disaster prone to rebuild their homes if lost in a disaster?
Well, I think that when families are devastated, and we've lived with this in North Carolina because we've been regularly hit by hurricanes, and I've spent an awful lot of time in New Orleans. When families are hit by natural disasters, I think it is for the national community to be there for them. I think that's our joint responsibility as a national community to be there for them. And my view about what's happened, particularly in New Orleans, is it's absolutely heartbreaking to see what's happened there. Because this is a perfect example of a government that's a mess and the American people who are absolutely extraordinary. I mean, you look at how America has responded to this tragedy. They have been volunteering, contributing. I took 700 college kids down to New Orleans who gave up their spring break to go down there and work to help rehabilitate houses. I was so inspired and proud of those young kids. But the government has been a complete disaster. And contracts have been let to these multinational corporations instead of allowing the people of New Orleans to rebuild their own city. My view is we didn't need a surge in Baghdad. We need a surge in New Orleans. We need to be there for our people who are struggling. And I do think we can be smart about planning. I think actually in the case of New Orleans, there was an extraordinary opportunity to rebuild a city that was more economically integrated, more racially integrated. Those pictures that we saw coming out of the 9th Ward of New Orleans, I think broke a lot of people's hearts, and I think actually was a wake-up call to a lot of Americans who didn't realize that kind of problem existed.
So does smarter mean any limits? Let's just take 20 seconds more here. From Malibu to the Outer Banks down to Florida, should there be unlimited federal dollars?
Of course, we have to be smart. We have to be environmentally sensitive. There's actually, on the coast of North Carolina, we've done a great deal to do that, to preserve wetlands, for example, which are a crucial barrier to help protect our coasts. But yes, smart, but when a natural disaster comes, our country needs to be there for our people.
To Tim Russert.
I'd like to talk about taxes. Senator Clinton, I'd like to start with you because the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Charlie Rangel, is a strong supporter of your campaign. He wants to repeal the alternative minimum tax, but he also wants to have a 4% surtax on a single $150,000 income or $200,000 married couple. You went to Harlem with your husband, with Charlie Rangel, and the former president said, quote, "Charlie Rangel wants me to pay more taxes so you can pay less, and I think that's a good idea." Is that also your view?
Well, I am a great admirer of Chairman Rangel, and what he's trying to do is deal with a very serious problem. You know, the alternative minimum tax was never intended to hit people who are in middle income, upper middle income. It was meant for people who are rich and evading taxes. Now, I don't know all the details of what Charlie is recommending, but I certainly agree with the goal. We've got to do something with the alternative minimum tax. There are a lot of ways of getting there. I want it to be fair and progressive. It starts in the House. It starts in the Ways and Means Committee, which he chairs. But I think my husband was expressing an opinion that a lot of people who have been very fortunate and blessed over the last 6.5 years feel. You know, we've not been asked to sacrifice anything. You know, young men and women wearing the uniform of our country are dying and being maimed. We have the average American family losing $1,000 in income, and George Bush and his cronies can't figure out how they can give even more tax cuts to the wealthiest of Americans. Now, I never thought Bill and I would be in that category, to be honest with you. So it's kind of a new experience, but it's not one that makes us very comfortable, because we should be investing in new energy. We should be investing in college affordability, universal pre-K, the kind of health care plan that I've outlined. That's what we intend to do. But we're going to have to deal with the AMT, something that the Republicans have refused to do because, very frankly, it hits people who are below their concern. They're concerned about the real top wage earners. This hits people that are, you know, the police chief. This hits people that are, you know, two-income families that are doing well. So we're going to have to do something about it. I think Charlie's being very courageous in moving forward. I don't agree with all the details, but he's on the right track to say we've got to do something about the AMT.
So in principle, you would be in favor of looking at a 4% surtax.
No, I didn't say that, Tim. I said that I'm in favor of doing something about the AMT. How we do it and how we put the package together, everybody knows, is extremely complicated. It's not going to happen while George Bush is president. Everybody knows that. I want to get to a fair and progressive tax system. The AMT has to be part of what we try to change when I'm president. And there are a lot of moving pieces here. You know, there are kinds of issues we're going to deal with as the tax cuts expire. I want to freeze the estate tax at the 2009 level of $7 million for a couple. There's a lot of moving parts. So I'm not going to get committed to a specific approach, but I applaud Chairman Rangel for beginning the conversation.
But you will not campaign on the Rangel plan?
No, no. That's Charlie Rangel's plan, and as I say, I support and admire his willingness to take this on.
Senator Obama, would you campaign on the Rangel plan?
No, because I don't know all the details of it, and I may not agree with some aspects of it. But let's broaden the conversation here. We're all traveling all across the country, Iowa, New Hampshire. Everywhere you go, you'll meet a single mother who is raising her kids, working at the same time, trying to go to college, and every one of her costs, from health care to college tuition, has gone up. Home heating oil is going up. She can't even imagine the idea of saving. Now, in the meantime, we've got a 10,000